Flabbergasted. Which
Microphone.
Oh, that's okay.
But so I was.
Okay. All right, good morning, everyone. It is officially 10:03 a.m.
We did not print out our agendas.
Oh, that's all right.
I'll be right back.
Give us a few minutes, everyone. We'll be right, we will get the meeting started.
Quiet.
March. So is that?
Just really late.
It's mine, at least it's this month, so it makes sense to me.
It is.
Well, it's a half birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, everybody.
And when is your birthday?
It's also in March at the end of the month. I thought maybe you were both in September or something.
No, it's just the day.
Gretchen was buying riches and we're like, oh my God, we never did.
Yes. Yep. Wait. Is that?
Some extra
So
copies, can you two share?
Sure.
it is officially 10:05. I appreciate everyone's patience here in the room and on the teams. Welcome to the Electoral Board meeting. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on our website within 24 hours of this meeting. I move that this meeting of the Arlington Electoral Board be called to order on September 9th at exact time 10:06 a.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. So the first thing on our agenda that we're going to do is a reorganization. Per Virginia Code 24.2-107, the Electoral Board is required to meet after a new board member has been appointed to reorganize. So we are at that place now. We have Dominique on our board. Welcome, Dominique.
Thank you.
Your first official
Yes.
board meeting as an Electoral Board member. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open to floor for nomination of chair.
Well, I nominate that Kim remain as chair, that I remain as vice chair, and that Dominique be nominated as secretary.
I will second that.
I have no objection.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you. That's a quick reorg. Some things move quickly. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. So these are the minutes from the August 10th, 2023 meeting. I'm going to move that we accept the minutes from the meeting we approved.
I second that.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, since Dominique wasn't
I'm
in
abstaining.
an official capacity in the last meeting, he will abstain from voting.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the ADA review of polling places.
So I don't have much on this agenda. I know I'm prepared today, unfortunately. So one of the new requirements that came from the Department of Elections this summer is that the Electoral Board is required to complete a review of every polling place in advance of this upcoming election. So the question for the board is, we are prepared to start going to our polling locations and complete the review. There are two checklists we can use, one from the Department of Justice and one from the state that closely mirrors the Department of Justice, except for the requirement that there be curbside voting cones outside of polling places. Obviously, those aren't placed until election day. And the requirement is that the checklist be completed by October, the end of October.
Okay.
So there are certain pieces of the checklist that essentially won't be there until election day.
Okay.
Now, am I correct that you've mentioned before that there was perhaps some resistance by some of the facilities to making changes that would be needed to fully comply?
No, it's a difference of opinion on what is ADA compliant. So we have come through and made with the checklist from the Department of Justice and made recommendations based on things in that checklist. And the facilities have come back. One facility in particular has come back and said that they disagree with the checklist and that they are in compliance.
And is that position reasonable, at least, that their position they are in compliance?
It's an interesting question because we have not been provided any training on completing a checklist at all. So we would certainly not be an expert. And so if you have somebody that it is their job to determine ADA compliance and they have gone out and they have determined it to be ADA compliant, then one could, then we would go with their assessment because once again, we have not, the Department of Elections to this point has not, they provided a 1-hour webinar, but didn't provide any concrete training into going through the actual list. And the list was not available during that training this summer. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is there anybody in the past who has sued the board for non-compliance that you're aware of? I mean, are we likely?
So they file when there is an ADA or an EO issue, they'll file a complaint with the Human Rights Office, and there have been complaints over the years filed, but usually they are dismissed. And it's for a variety of reasons, not necessarily accessibility at a polling location, but it's actually Arlington voters that led the charge to have an online ballot marking option for print disabled voters at home so they could mark independently without assistance from home using the absentee process that other voters use. And that was a statewide lawsuit, not necessarily us. So.
Okay.
But we will, like I said, we do, normally our normal operating procedure in Arlington, just to make everyone aware, is when we go into a new polling location, that is when we do a complete review of the DOJ checklist to make sure that the polling location is in compliance. And then we also have trained our election officers to do an ADA checklist before they open in the morning to make sure that the path both outside of the polling location and inside of the polling location is in compliance.
So really, unless there's been any real substantial structural change, like entrances moved or ramps put in or anything that would cause like a very material change, it shouldn't.
Yeah.
It should be the same from year to year.
Yeah. And even when there is, so if we have to use an alternative entrance, like we had to use a different entrance at Randolph Elementary School this summer, and we did have to buy temporary ramps to make the entrance that we were going to use to bring it into compliance. So it's like I said, we do it on a case-by-case basis now. So, but assuming all things are staying the same, voters are going to use the same door in that facility on that election, and it was reviewed, then we have completed a review. But we can certainly work to get the documentation in place for your review.
Thank you.
If you need help with any of that, please let us know.
Absolutely. Part of it is, like I said, we have to get up, you can't just show up at public buildings with the ruler and say everything's okay, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So we are working, we just completed our initial contact with polling locations, so we'll follow up with them.
Okay, fabulous. One thing I wanted to add to that, I don't think this is necessarily an ADA, but it just kind of popped into my head, and this is the parking with Walter Reed and early voting. Will there be some spaces allocated there during early voting? Because I know once pickleball starts, that lot fills up very quickly.
We can put in the request,
Okay,
so,
thank you.
to have signs placed up.
Thank you. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda, I think, is closed session. Rich and Dominic, I have a question for both of you. Do you want to move the closed session towards the end? And then when we come out of closed session, we just move on to the next, to the LNA testing, or do you want to keep it here?
That's
I
fine.
think can we move the election officer appointment there? I think
Absolutely,
that
there's
one of the
nothing-
things on the closed agenda is some of the issues about the delegation.
Yeah, that
So
was,
maybe we shouldn't delegate before we.
if you wanted to deliberate, yeah, I wanted to give the option of if you wanted some deliberation, to give you that option. So, yeah.
Unless any of the personnel issues. have
No,
to
there's
do with the
nothing
people on the
pertinent to
list.
election officer appointments.
Okay.
Okay, so we're moving the election officer appointments out.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're gonna skip over number 5. We're gonna go to agenda item 6, which is the election officer appointments.
So we are appointing 22 new applications that have come in since our last meeting. A lot of these applications appeared around a national poll worker recruitment day. So we believe that's what has inspired so many people to sign up to work at the polls for us. One of these individuals is in Fairfax County, but they actually have an Arlington address. They're on the, they're up by,
That border.
they're in McLean, but they, most of their street is in Arlington, so. In terms of where we are for staffing the upcoming election, we currently have 534 election officers assigned to work the upcoming election. We have assigned every affiliated officer for both the Republicans and Democrats that has marked that they were available. That number for both parties is 41, so everyone else working the election would be unaffiliated at this point. So.
Question, what would be the deadline for new election officers or new affiliated election?
Once again, so yeah, Dominique and I were discussing this a little bit before we got going today. So the 2 names that we got from, we did receive 2 names from the Democratic Party in advance of this meeting. They were already appointed election officers, so we'll just shift their affiliations. So once again, if they're already an appointed election officer, we just would then mark them as being affiliated with the party. That doesn't necessarily require an electoral board action. So we will take, if you have names, especially if they're already assigned, we'll.
I think the deadline is as soon as possible,
Yeah.
because Tate is already doing staff.
Yeah, and so we want to try
shuffle.
to, yeah, we want to achieve parity as soon as possible. So we want to get them plugged into training classes and all of that. So there is no statutory deadline.
Okay, thanks. And just a quick question, is there any effort to, the Republican, I guess both Republican and Democrat, to make sure that they are in positions of responsibility whenever that's feasible? Chief, assistant chief?
Yeah, once again, so like I said, when you only have 41 individuals and you need 108 affiliated individuals in chief and assistant chief positions, we're a long way away from that mark for either party. So, yeah, but
Those who are affiliated,
Yeah.
qualified, they'll be.
yeah,
Okay. Well, sorry, 41 for both?
yes.
Oh.
They, once again, because.
No, 82 combined, 41.
No. So we have in our database, we have 69 affiliated officers,
Okay.
but only 41 indicated that they were available for this election.
Okay.
They're allowed to take vacations. Yeah, but all 41 have been assigned, so. But as with any, if you've ever staffed an election, you know that the initial list that, and I'm sure Dominique can speak to this as his years of being in chief, but that initial list that is sent out, a lot of times by the time you get to election day, could be entirely new from the first list that you got as people drop out, don't attend training and things like that. So.
Yeah, I think most elections, and I have 2018 usually has like 11 or 12 people in a November election, and like you usually lose like 3 or 4 of them, or they get switched out because somebody suddenly can't make it, or
So
there's almost always one person that gets sick and has like a super last minute cancellation. But
so that's where, like I said, so to Dominique's first point of as soon as possible would really help us, because it is an ever moving target to try to get an election staffed. And like I said, get everybody into training and make sure that the chiefs have their list so they can work on contacting those workers. So.
as a former chief, it's nice to know like at least like a week in advance who you're expecting to show up. Assuming you don't get that call on Monday, like, I'm not feeling so great. And you're like, nope, don't come in. Don't come in, please. Thank you. Like, I'll see how, nope, I don't care how you feel tomorrow, actually. Just don't do me any favors.
Yeah.
Don't need to get everyone else in that back facing safe.
I'm not even like, I don't even care if it's COVID or not. Like, I don't even want a cold. Like, after a 16-hour day, it's just like,
It's a hard day
everything
to
is
do.
run down. So.
Yeah. Anyway, so to that point, as soon as possible, certainly helps us planning for the election. So.
Yeah, particularly with people who are already election officers, I think don't feel like you have to do them all in a group. I mean, not to volunteer you guys for more work, but if you come up with a name and like you're okay with, just send the name over and don't worry about other people. Like you don't need to send one list with 10 names. If you send them one at a time, that works too.
Yeah, does that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, anything else on that? So let's go ahead and I'm gonna move that we appoint these election officers provided for a term commencing immediately and terminating on March 31st, 2024.
I second
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Continue. So now there's a dispute session. So we don't anticipate this will take us long, so. Yes.
Before you go into closing, could I just make a public comment or just a suggestion for the board?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if any of you heard, but in Loudoun County, they did what was called a batch comparison audit, which is a new form of limited risk audit that's been approved now by the state electoral board and elect. So basically, you take random precinct or precincts, do a hand count, and you compare with the electoral count from the machines and see if it matches up. So I think it was very successful in Loudoun, and I would encourage the board to consider that for the upcoming election. And apparently you do need to request, if you do decide you'd like to do that, you need to request approval from the state either elect or the board to do it. But I heard in Loudoun it was very smooth and bipartisan thing, and it went well. So, in terms of the public understands, it's pretty easy to understand. It increased transparency, voter confidence. It's positive, I think, for all of those things. So I would just like to suggest that to the board.
Do you know if their audit turned up anything statistically significant? I'm pretty sure that an audit doesn't require exact to kind of raise flags. Like if the numbers are off by 1, then nobody's going to order a full hand recount over that, but that there's some sort of.
Right, there were apparently there was only like 5 ballots that were even questionable. That had to do more like with the intent of the voter or something like this. So it showed then that the machines were very accurate compared to the hand count. So that's a good thing. So that,
Yes, and with anything like that, I appreciate those suggestions. With anything like that, the first thing I think is, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And if there is an actionable problem that this process would help unclose, then, by all means, try it. But if there's not an underlying problem, I'm not sure how many new processes we want to pile on Gretchen's shoulders.
Well, I mean, I'd be curious as to what how difficult this would be. I mean, in terms of what is the problem, obviously there are a lot of people who perhaps mistakenly believe that hand counting is more accurate than machine counting, and there have been calls some places for all hand counting, that there really isn't. Machines tend to be more accurate. That's good information to get out there if it doesn't take too much resources to do that.
Yeah, what I can certainly, so my first question as an administrator is how much does it cost? So to the point of resources, so I'm happy to put together for the board and how many staff we would need and what it would cost for your consideration.
All right, I appreciate that.
That'd be great.
And we have done an audit. We did participate in a risk limiting audit. So this is just a different type of one, but we did do, and I have observed a batch comparison audit when Fairfax City did a pilot many years ago. So I am familiar with the process. So I can reasonably make an assessment of what it would take.
okay, thank you.
Any other public comments? His hand on mine either. Okay, so with that, I move that the electoral board go into closed session pursuant to state code section 2.2-3711 for the purpose of discussing issues related to personnel and security.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will be back. You guys, I think you all can.
You're welcome to stay here. And then after this, like I said, we'll be doing the logic and accuracy testing for the voting machines. So, but if you want to go get Starbucks too, we won't stop you.
Just leave this up.
Yeah, just leave it open.
Okay, I'll stop.
Okay. Yeah, I think in terms of the review, questions.
You're the weekend tech guy?
Yeah, I'm here filling in for Tanya.
That's very good.
This meeting.
Are you back here regularly, or?
Yes, yeah.
Very nice.
When the assistant registrar is here.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, we're not doing right.
Thank you for your.
Yeah.
A lot of questions. if anyone's
Yeah.
there.
But did you see Juan Carlos's response? In the sit-in about it? He said, she should he did. Like,
Yeah, I'd like to read.
it's in the, I'll send you the, Gazette picked it up, McCaffrey type.
Okay.
And,
There was a
it's-
little op-ed from Roy. I don't even.
Not letter, but I talked to Juan Carlos about an hour yesterday.
Okay.
He is.
Good.
Yes, he said we can get on the phone and raise money. Yeah, so, but if you think of any of those.
Yeah, legal challenge, right? There's that.
No.
All right, okay, I just want, somebody from another thought they'd heard, because today, I don't know if you know, the Republican state
Yeah,
senate
yeah,
committee is voting on that.
Yep.
So there's been a recruitment to try to
I
talk to
was
everybody.
I was almost a proxy for that.
Oh, yeah, even they asked you to go down to Richmond the day after.
Yeah, exactly. Mark Kelly wanted me to go.
Right.
And I've got a 2 p.m. flight to Nashville.
Yeah, I got a call saying, do you know anybody who sub for him. There's this guy, Jonathan Lunchman.
Yeah, Hunchon,
And
He's the
he's very.
process
yes.
oriented.
Yeah, he's very well briefed,
Mhm.
and he's definitely in favor of the resolution.
Cool.
So we'll have to see if he,
Yeah, someone texted me and asked about Morton, and I said, Morton voted for the resolution at the RC meeting. He's a good
Okay.
guy, and he'll be there. He does not miss those meetings.
okay, all right.
So, but if you think of any for the process, I'll stick around.
Okay.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Yep, see you.
Bye, have a good weekend.
Good to see you. Yeah, you do the same.
All right.
Everything good? Yeah, we're in closed session. Yeah. Watch comparison. Okay. So we get back to you guys. If anybody wants to click the button.
I mean, we're not really in session, so.
Cool. We're towards the end of the agenda.
Yes, you went to closed session to the end.
Yeah. Okay.
I might have overestimated my hours.
You did what you were told, and that's fine. That's one of the hazards.
Fix it next week.
We're, we're still not a third of the way done with everything once this is over. So,
Well, maybe it's gonna take a while. Last one, 2.
no, God.
And I also put 5 when it's even was 2, it's 4.5.
That's, well, didn't you get here at 9?
I had some working. I just showed up early.
You're-
Cool off. Doesn't count.
That's true.
Doesn't count.
Giving up on cooling off. Until next Wednesday when it's 60 degrees.
Yeah, today was a little disappointing.
Was, yeah.
Oh, we went up to go to bike shares. Like, oh, yeah, middle 60s. And oh my God, it's so humid.
Yeah.
It's worse.
Got a couple of nice storms last night, though.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to dry out. Like that 98, but like 20% humidity was kind of nice.
Yeah, that's actually okay.
This is awful.
Just certainly not pleasant.
%, humidity, dew point is 71. The dew point is almost parity with actual.
Oh, well, that's why I feel miserable.
Humidity.
Dad used to love dew point, that's all I talked about.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not the humidity, son, it's dew point.
Yeah.
Yes, Dad, I know.
Oh, man, yeah,
Thank you again.
it's, and you said it's what? The dew point 72?
71 right now.
70, oh, that's miserable.
Yeah, I'm just backing off my running until it's actually September weather. I'm sorry, but.
Wednesday. But watch out, that hurricane might get here next weekend.
Oh, okay, well, right now Lee is in, it's still gonna be the middle of the ocean by
Yeah.
Wednesday. It's gonna be a lot, like, people are freaking out about it, like, oh, it's much powerful. Yes, it is, but it's in the middle of the ocean. It has a very long way to go. It's
It does.
inland.
Well, and the high-level wind shear is gonna rip it apart before it, so it would not be a hurricane
It's a,
unless.
at that point, it's all guesses.
Yeah.
Um,
What we can know fairly confidently is it's gonna get somewhat closer to Florida in the next 3 to 4 days.
yeah, but it's also, the longest term projections are that it's gonna go hit Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Or something's gonna hit Nova Scotia, and who knows what it's gonna look like, but
How it's
somebody like in the group chat was like, oh, you know, like, so they guess that freaking out is in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you know, I said, there's a low chance of even aliens. It's also low chance of alien. There's still a chance it could hit DC. Like, who cares?
Could would be.
And also, if it would, it is 2 weeks away
Yeah.
from being that far north.
Um,
It is truly in the middle of the Atlantic.
and it looks like it's already starting to.
Well, sorry, we can down to 3.
Yeah. And it's starting to turn north a little bit.
Yeah.
Bermuda might get hammered.
It always does.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of the Atlantic.
It's-
It is in the middle of nowhere, Atlantic Ocean. Yeah.
Um,
Bermuda always gets hit by weird hurricanes.
I watched another YouTube video about, what was it, Flight 19, the one that disappeared. And shortly after World War II. during World War II.
The Bermuda Triangle one?
Yeah, the Bermuda Triangle.
That was like what, Avengers?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Where they did not navigate correctly and everybody is, you know,
You ever seen Close Encounters with the?
yeah,
Okay. It starts out at the beginning with the Flight 19.
yeah. That's the one with Sigourney Weaver, right?
No, that's Close Encounters is the Spielberg one from the 70s.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He's like the one that's in Wyoming, Devil's Tower.
Yes, okay, no, yeah.
The very positive and happy use of the alien movies that we've been American produced.
Where we play the music
As we
and show the lights.
and the light show, and
Yeah.
and then we do a little emissary exchange with them.
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore's breakout role.
Oh,
Was she one of the
okay.
kids?
I think so. One
Yeah.
of the kids.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Or no, was that E.T.? I'm thinking of E.T.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Never knew.
It was so long.
Because Close Encounters is like, I think, 76.
Was it? It's older, yeah.
It's like Spielberg's first movie.
And then,
The
you know,
first big movie.
they cribbed it in Independence Day and immediately
Yeah.
got missiled. So,
And Independence Day was a less positive depiction
I
of
don't know.
human-alien relations.
Yeah, in human alien relations, yeah, that's a much less positive depiction. Much more fun, though.
Then, Close Encounters is close to when Star Trek: The Motion Picture came out too.
Is it? Yeah.
They're both
Because
70s.
that would have been 5 or 6 years after they killed the TV show.
Yeah, and motion pictures when they had the updated Klingons.
That didn't look like humans anymore.
Well, they had the
Ridges, yeah.
They updated them again for Discovery.
Yeah. Though less of a,
I think it was bad. The original ones are iconic, but a lot of the original Star Trek aliens were very much a product of television production.
Yeah.
Why they looked like that.
yeah,
Because you have to actually put makeup on somebody and they would
What's
wear
the-
it for 8 hours a day.
the trope about Stargate, all the Stargates, was that everybody got kidnapped from Earth to go be there, so that they had plenty of aliens that they didn't have to.
Yeah,
They didn't
all
have to
the
worry
humans-
about
all the
language
humans
barrier.
were, seated. Well, the language barrier thing was also a way to exist so it was spoken English. It would be kind of,
Yeah,
there's not even it actually just, there's never been a canon explanation. It's just kind of like, robots or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. Because the written languages for all the humans, the offer of humans is still in other.
the other scripts, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest though, you don't need to be a good sci-fi show, you don't need
I don't even explain that. It's too much work too.
to, yeah.
The Star Trek one is a lot of work, and it is an advanced computer, and they didn't actually explain that advanced computer and kind of like how it worked until Enterprise.
Yeah,
Because it was, I forget that character's name, but it was the one woman that was on the bridge. She was the language officer and was kind of deciphering and learning the language herself, and then she developed a computer program that all the computers used for viewers and translator.
yeah,
Kilo Chibaru was kind of that too, but
yeah.
they also saw the computer. Kind of funny that in TNG, the ship's computer was this physically massive thing that spans several decks, and it's like,
Yeah.
even 90s, you really still couldn't imagine a computer that small.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing on the ship after the warp core. It's cool.
It may still have been, though, because I mean, you see how big the quantum computing setups they have started using now.
Yeah, but we're talking a few hundred more years in the future for these Star Trek computers can do what my cell phone can.
Yeah.
Their most advanced thing, I mean, yeah, the warp calculations are sure, but their most advanced thing was the universal translator, and that's, granted, my cell phone can do it because it's just a front end for a much larger system on the back.
Yeah, because it's cloud, The data center that Google has to do those things is enormous, acres and acres of servers. But,
That's a lot of executive session.
Yeah,
Guess they'll be done soon.
I don't know, I never know if it's a lot or if it just feels like a lot. Because you're just kind of sitting here chilling. Um,
big tweak on there.
They're working on the door to the 2200 lobby. I think they're putting the flooring in. I'm 100% sure though. They were doing quite a lot of banging earlier. I'm sure you heard that.
is unequal.
Okay.
Oh, it's not quite as good in here.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to project that. Okay.
All right. Thank you everyone for waiting for us to wrap up our closed session. So, I'll just find my notes. Okay, so it is 11:08. I move that the electoral board to public session and certify that only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements by Virginia law and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered.
I second.
All in favor?
Agreed.
Okay. And, so now I'm going to move that the list of specific duties be delegated to the Arlington County Director of Elections.
These will be posted on the website for review. Basically, we're reauthorizing duties that were delegated in 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, so these will be posted to the website. And with that, I move that we adjourn this meeting. It is now 11:10 a.m. Can I get a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
this is a contact sheet
Oh, okay.
that I need to get to the state.
Oh, okay.
So we just need Dominique to sign it as secretary. That's not, okay, I just needed the form signed. And
I knew it
the-
needed to be done and I saw you had a printed version.
Yeah. That is what I hope will trigger getting your LMS account.
Is we've officially let them know
Yeah.
the change is
Yeah.
All right. So now we will
Launch
on.
and accuracy testing.
Yes,
Do you
indeed.
guys need a break before we convene, or are you ready to jump right in?
I just need a
We can close out this meeting, it is adjourned.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the LNA testing in 17.
Please.
Yes, click the arrow and end meeting. There you go.